We bought this Blanc for 500, sold at 559. We bought this Keane at 65, sold at 72.50, and we bought this Charlton at 113, sold them at 1230, all last night live on the stream. So no matter what budget you are, high, medium, or low budget, I'm going to show you the 5 different ways that I icon trade. The last 2 are my personal favorites, but all of them are great for different budgets. And boys, these work amazing on console and PC, so it should be good for everyone. Let's jump into number 1. Which is the lowest budget method, which is what everyone can do. It works all the way up to 10+ million coins, and that is discard icon trading. And although it sounds like it's discard icons, it seems a bit dodgy. This is one of the best coin makers all year round. And boys, at the end of each method, end of each of the 5, I'm going to show you tell you what I think each of the budget is for these methods and when you should be doing them, with how many coins and what type of people should be doing them. So stick around to the end of the 5 for all of those. Starting with discard icons, right? And it is as simple as it sounds. Now, icons discard for 65,000 coins. Some of them are slightly different, like if the other versions of icons. So sometimes if you put this over here to league icons, you'll see other versions. Like I think the Gerrard icon, the pre-order champs one, is lower than that sometimes. But in general, if you go to icon version and do 65,000 coins, it is what all icons discard for, right? This is taking advantage of that because these cards can never go below 65,000 coins. This is probably the safest method. It's not the highest profit. They'll come later on, but it's definitely the safest, and I use it all the time when there's not much to do on the market. All you're doing is, right, trying to buy icons for this I'll even buy that right now. You're trying to buy icons for below 67,000 coins, ideally 66,000 coins and below. Now, some of them are better than others. For example, Ian Rush is probably the worst one. He's the least sought after, and you often get like the Roy Keane I saw before. Perez comes up a lot at 65,000 coins, and they're a little bit better. I've just found they sell a little bit more. Now, all you're doing here is kind of lazy selling the icons, right? This Luis Hernandez, we'll go and check, but I imagine he only sells for about maybe 70,000 coins, which after tax is basically no profit. So if we look at Luis Hernandez here, as we can see, as predicted, he sells at about 69,000 coins, which with tax is 0 profit or even a loss if you sold him, which is absolutely fine. The whole point of this method is lazy selling. When we sold that Roy Keane before for 72,000 coins, and if you're a little bit smart, you might even have seen we got a Gattuso on the exact same filter. Both of them never went to 72,000 coins. They were both always below 70,000 coins when we sold them, but it doesn't really matter. For whatever reason, I'm not sure, boys, people really do use these discard icons. Comment down below if you've ever used an icon like Hernandez, any of the 70k ones, Perez, Rush. I don't know who's using them. I assume some of you boys are. Let me know. I just use Pina because I'm a rat. But yeah, this Luis Hernandez, although he was 68,000 coins, I almost guarantee we can sell him for 72. And in this instance, that is only about 3,000 coins profit. Now, like I say, if you get some of the better ones, they can sell up for 75,000 coins. And to be honest, boys, all of these will sell for 75,000 coins. It can just take a little bit longer where I don't have the patience for that. But another huge little tip for you boys is if you can pick these up with shadows and hunters. Now, sometimes you have no choice. You've just got to buy what was on the market at the time. But if you can pick these up with shadows for defenders, midfielders, hunters for attackers, they will often sell for 75,000 coins on lazies, even better. This Luis Hernandez, I will happily just sell at 72,000 coins. We'll make our 2,000 or 3,000 coins profit from that card. Absolutely fine with me. I'm on a high budget, so I can do that quite a lot. But even if you're on a low budget, right, and you want something a little bit more casual, discard icon trading is amazing. It's very passive. It's very easy. And most importantly, if you're learning icon trading, it's obviously the safest way to icon trade. In terms of when to do this method, boys, it's always better on weekend league, right? If you think about it, that is when people are buying and selling the teams the most. So you'll get more people listing these icons for below 67,000 coins. Ideally, boys, I would not buy anything above 66,000 coins if you're new to this. When you get a little bit better at it, you'll start to learn which ones sell at 75 and 76, and of course, then ones you can buy a little bit higher. But if you're new, don't worry about it. Just stick to 66,000 coins, and I would not even sit and snipe this filter, right? All I would do is every 10 or 15 minutes or so that you're on the game across weekend league, just come across to the filter and have a little search. These cards often sit for a minute or two on the market. Sometimes, you know, it's less than that if people are on the filter, but often I just search once or twice, and if there's nothing there, I'll move on to the rest of the methods in the, you know, in this video that I'll show you coming up. But you can often pick up cards quite cheap, like I say, shadows, hunters, all that good stuff. Get them selling in the background. It's a great bit of way to make passive coins. And I did say, boys, I'd let you know what budget every method was for. So this method, like I said, you can do it as cheap as 65,000 coins if that's your budget you're on. When we picked up this Roy Keane for 65,000 coins, well, as you can see, boys, I'm on about 5 million coins liquid, or not, I'm at 3 million liquid. But when we sell, we've got a few things left to sell. We've got these Cafus I've been icon trading. They'll be coming later in the video. These Cruises, Hernandez. I'm on about 5.1, 5.2 million coins liquid, and I still do this method religiously because that 3,000 coins, 4,000 coins you get per card adds up very, very fast. And when you get it with method 2 and method 3, it goes even faster. So let's jump into method 2. And guys, if you want to use players like this and like this and just need that little extra boost, then you can get your cheap, fast, and most importantly, safe FC26 coins at eldorado.gg. They have 24/7 support, a money-back guarantee, and you can use code JEAD at checkout to get another 5% off your order. Link is in the description. And method 2 works, really well on console and PC, but it's probably the only method in this video that works even better on PC than console. They all work on both, but this one probably works even better on PC. I'm going to put max price to about 65,000 coins. Now, this used to work a lot better than it did, and it can get better and worse throughout the year, but let me show you it just in case. This is the icon open bid filter, right? All you're looking to do is get icons that are on open bids. Now, the way you do that is you put the max price to the cheapest that icons go for on bid, which is about 65,000 coins. It'll make sense in just a second. And then minimum buy now, you want to put something like 100,000 coins. Sometimes you have to go up to 150, sometimes you have to go up to 200. You have to play with this little filter, and I'll show you exactly how you can do that. Don't worry, because basically it can break, and I will show you how. So we'll start with 250,000 coins, and we'll see what comes up. So 250,000 coins, there is only a couple cards on the filter. The next thing we can do is up this maximum price to 67,000 coins, and we get a lot more cards on the filter. But basically, what we can't have, boys, here is we cannot have 2 cards over the hour. It is the same when we're doing chem style trading. You probably heard me talk about this quite a lot. You just cannot compare price, which is X or square, depending on which console you're on or which controller. You cannot compare price and then click back off it and refresh the market if there's 2 or more cards over the hour. I'm sure you boys know this by now, but just in case, right? Basically, you need to fiddle with the filter. Don't take that the wrong way. You got to fiddle with the filter to try and move one of these prices so one or more of these cards gets took off the filter, right? It can be a little bit confusing at first, but essentially, we either need to get rid of this Figo off the filter or get rid of the Zola. There are 2 ways we can do this. We can move the max price or we can move the minimum buy now. Now, we can either put the minimum buy now above 385, so Figo's not on it, or we can put the max price below 67, so Figo's not on it, as he's got the more, like the harder price ranges to shift. So basically, we could move this max price to 66.50, and as you'll see, it's now just Zola over the hour. We did actually get a rip rate on the filter when we were talking. Or we could leave that at 67, and if you're on a higher budget, we could put this min buy now just above Figo, literally 1,000 coins above him, which should be about this here. And as you'll see, we've also now just got Zola. Now, me personally, boys, I'm going to do it this way and go to 66.50 and put this back down to, I think we had 250, right? If we go and check that. And there we go, just got Zola. I'm going to do that because basically I see there's more cards on the filter and we always want more cards. Now, that's a lot of explaining what the filter is, but how do you use this to make coins? This is proper icon trading now. I'll tell you what budget you can do at the end of this method and what filters specifically that I normally use. But let me show you the general gist, right? All you're going to do is compare price and back out on the last card, so the Zola here, and you're going to check every single icon that comes up on the market on the open bid filter. Open bid just being, if you look at all these icons, they are listed for open bids. They've all got low start prices, right? The reason this works so well is when people list an icon on open bid, they're often trying to sell it quickly. This guy who's selling Ribri, or the guy who's just listed Petit there, he's basically saying, right, if this card doesn't sell for 430, I need it gone quick. So the guy selling it is like, look, I need the coins quick. Often when someone needs coins quick, they underlist a card because they need the coins quickly. So maybe Ribri's 450 and the guy might have undercut by 20,000 coins. I'm actually not too clued up on some of these prices at the moment. So all you're going to do, like this Petit when he comes up on the market, is check every single card. Now, it takes a while to learn these prices, but let me show you exactly how I do it. You're going to want to use either FUTGG on console or footbin on PC, as FUTGG is slightly better for this, but obviously, FUTGG is not available on PC, so you use footbin instead. Now, we're going to be looking at sales prices. That Petit we just seen came up with 390,000 coins. Now, I know this is not a buy for this card because it's about 148,000 coins, but we can use it as an example. It doesn't really matter, okay? So basically, the Petit came up, and let's say it doesn't matter what the price is, you just want to know if it's a buy. This is the exact same on footbin. I'll quickly show that one first, but you do FUTGG on console if you can, it's better. So here it is on footbin, like I said. You're going to go to market. Again, I prefer FUTGG, but just in case you're on PC, and you're going to go down to sales history, and all you're looking for is the most consistent high and low price of these cards. Now, as you can see, if you have to view the full sales history, because basically the little preview doesn't show you much, so you're on this full sales history page. It's kind of small right now, but you can see all the sales of this Petit here, right? And it's showing you the past how many hours. It's going from 11 a.m. all the way. It's basically showing you like the last like 12 to 18 hours of sales history, right? I would look at the last 6 to 10 hours, about that. You know, it's not an exact, boys. You don't need to get all scientific with it. But the, you know, last 6 to 10 hours, you're trying to get a sense for what this Petit sells for at a high price and what he sells for at a low price. As you can see with this one here, he's selling for 150,000, like 154,000 coins very consistently there. A lot of 154,000s, and it looks like he doesn't fluctuate too much. But you can see here, if you squint, 141,000 coins got sold there, 147. He seems to high at 154. I'm not seeing much higher than that, but we'll keep scrolling. Oh, actually, we got 157. He seems to sell at 157, even 158. Okay, so we can get 158 for this card, even 160, right? So as you can see, the high looks to be about 160, and the low looks to be up here at about 147, right? So basically, you know what his high is, and you know what his low is. Where's that 147? It is, or 141 even, but you're probably not going to get that. That was on bid. You're probably more likely to get this 147 here, right? Okay. So you've seen that he highs at 160 and he lows at 147. On FUTGG, it is the exact same. They just have a little bit better sales history. As you can scroll down, and they're all right here, and it often shows you the past 3 or 4 hours. Now, if it only shows you the past 3 hours, and you want, like, you know, more of a sales history, you have 2 options. You can go to footbin and use the full sales history, but I still prefer FUTGG's layout, or you can use the graph, right? Basically, all you do is if in the last 3 hours you want a little bit more data, you go up to the graph and see, has he gone up the last 3 hours and he's high? Has he gone down the last 3 hours and he's low? But these graphs and icons are a little bit dodgy. They have random rarity spikes, as you can see here. So I don't like using the graphs too much, but essentially you can kind of use the graphs with the sales history to see is he going up, down. But basically, sales history is king on icons. This Petit obviously is 390. It's not a buy. You know, he's been listed for max price. But let's say the Petit came up for 145, and we know we can sell him at 160. Now, the way I quickly do icon tax in my head is 10% then half it. That's the easiest way. So if he was 160 is what you can sell him for at the absolute highest. 10% 16. 5% is, of course, 8,000 coins. So you'd be able to get 152,000 coins after tax for this Petit card, right? So if you're getting 152,000 coins when you're selling him for his high, you probably want about 5% profit after tax on that. So you probably want about 6 or 7,000 coins profit after getting 152,000 coins back for him, which means the most you want to pay for that card is probably 145,000 coins to lock in that 7,000 coins profit. So that is how you work your buyout on Petit. Now that felt really long, but when you get good at this, it takes about 10 seconds. You check FUTGG or Footbin, you see what his, his high is and his low is, and you know, instantly you can work out how many coins am I get back for that card if I sell him. And it's the same for Ribery, same for Van der Sar, same for Torres, same for Hierro, same for Vidic. They all have a high point they sell for, and you can see that from the sales history. And all you're looking for is about 5% profit after tax, or an even easier way to do it is just 10% profit, because after tax, that is 5% profit. Now, that was a big chunk of showing you how to buy and sell icons using sales history, but that is going to come so useful for the rest of the video. That is the main way you look to buy and sell icons. Now, it'll come a little bit more in detail later with one of my favorite methods at the end, but that is a big chunk of it, boys. This, you can do, this open bid filter, amazing at Weekend League, even better at content time as more cards pop on the filter. And basically, yeah, that is it. Now, we did say we'd show you what budget we're doing for this, okay? So in terms of this, what's great about the open bid one is that it can be done at multiple different budgets, because basically you can play with this maximum buy now filter here. Now, for the filter to work, you often have to put a minimum buy now in of like 200 to 250,000 coins, because look what happens, right? If we lower that all the way down, you'll start to see that a lot of cards come up above the hour. So we see here, right? There is like, 5 or 7 cards above the hour, and it's really hard to move these around. So for me, I think to get all of these off, we'd have to put it minimum 230 to get rid of all of them, including that S-Yen. So I think if we do 231, it'll be viable again. But basically, if you're on like 100 or 200,000 coins, you can see that this wouldn't be viable because there's not enough cards, at that price. You have to, get rid of all the cheap cards on the filter, and you have to do it for like minimum 230,000 coins just to even get one card above the hour. All that means is basically this is more of a high budget filter. The next couple of ones that I'm going to show you, the next few methods are better at a low budget, but in my opinion, boys, only do this one when you've got around 300 to 500,000 coins or more, and then you can do it up to any budget beyond that. Method number 3, boys, one of my favorites, it is promo icons like this Xavi card here that we are making a lot of coins off. I think off this Xavi card alone, I have made something like 100, 200,000 coins since he's been out. I've sold more than 2 of them. I think I've sold 3 or 4, made like 100, 200,000 coins. He's an amazing card to trade with. Promo icons can be great, but you need to understand they work a little bit more like regular special cards. I'll break down what that means and how you can trade them, but they work a little bit more like regular special cards. What that kind of means is that they often have more supply than than even regular icons. Like this Schweinsteiger Thunderstruck, if you take a look at his supply, he's got the supply of like a special card, like a standard inform card almost, right? Icons should not have 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 pages of supply. And if you see, we're only at the 40th minute, right? Icons are rare, and that's why they're so good to trade with. But these special card icons often have a lot of supply. So tip number one is I would only normally work with the rarer special card icons personally. So if you look at Xavi, he does not have that many pages supply. In fact, that's all he's got. He's got two pages supply, right? He's basically more like a regular icon. That is the standard supply of any icon. But the lower tier ones, like Schweinsteiger Thunderstruck, I think Beckham Thunderstruck has very similar supply. Not Beckenbauer, he doesn't. But Beckham Thunderstruck has very similar supply, where you should see he's got quite a lot of pages supply, almost like a normal Thunderstruck card. Now, you can still trade that, by the way. He'll still fluctuate, and I'll show you how to. But just understand that's less like icon trading, more like promo trading, which is very, very difficult compared to icon trading, which I think is a little bit more simple. Now, because of that, if we are using cards like Xavi and cards like Roberto Carlos, the higher end ones, this can be more of a high budget method, right? It can be more of a high budget because often a lot of the rare cards are more expensive. And I promise the last two are for any budget, but if you're on a high budget, this one is great. But how do you actually buy and sell these cards? Well, you're going to use footbin lists or lists in general with icons, which is slightly different than normal, but I can show you how you do it. And it's a great tool to learn, and it actually takes us on to method number 4. I want to kind of combine this with method number 4 because method number 4 is like probably my favorite, maybe 5. I'm not sure. They're both amazing. They both work for any budget, but it is basically using footbin lists and lists in generals to trade icons. I love this one. Boys, very quickly before we jump into the last two best methods, if you could subscribe, I think only 18% of you are subscribed to these, subscribe to the channel when you watch these videos. So if you all hit subscribe now, we might hit, I don't know, 10,000 subscribers. I change the number every video. Hit on, the like button while you're down there, all that good stuff. I appreciate all you legends. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's jump into it. Footbin lists with promo icons, but also just as a general method. How do we buy and sell these cards like promo icons, but all icons? Boys, if you don't know what footbin lists are, it's literally lists you can make on footbin. You could make your own in an Excel spreadsheet if you want to. Don't recommend it because footbin lets you track the prices of cards. This is one of my lists for promo cards. I've showed this in a lot of videos now, but I do, as you probably spotted in other videos, have one for fluctuation icons. Now, you can also make one for promo icons. So on my Thunderstruck one, I have all the promo icons down here. I'll show you how I do this, boys. Don't you worry. But you can make one for promo icons, and I'll show you how we buy and sell them. But you can also do it for regular fluctuation icons. All these are, boys, are lists of cards you manually enter, and it just tracks the price of the cards. You can see on here, we've got the price of all the cards on your respective, footbin account. You do need a free footbin account. It is free. I'd recommend going and making one, and then it will, work with console or PC, depending on what your account is set to. But it shows you all of the icon prices in one go, so you can start to learn them and trade them very, very easily. Once you are logged into Footbin and you go to your profile and go to list page, I believe you need to be on the desktop version. So if you're on a mobile phone, just Google Footbin and do it that way. You go to enter a list name, and let's call this one best list ever, because, that makes sense. And we call it a new list, right? And you'll get greeted with this screen here. Now, there's two different ways to do this. Promo icons, like we said, you can add them manually, or fluctuation icons, and I'll show you how I prefer to do that, okay? Promo icons is a little bit easier. We can go and put Xavi in, for example, and click on his card there. He gets added to the list. We can go and put Roberto Carlos in, and he gets added to the card, added to the list there. He's in the list. And we can also go maybe put Frank Ribery. Now, these cards are live cards. Again, promo icons are a little bit harder to trade. Like Ribery the other day, for example, went down like 40,000 coins because his Marseille, who his Thunderstruck upgrades are linked to, they lost and he went down. So again, promo icons, a little bit more difficult. Hence why I think you should do this with regular icons too. But if you've got a bit of balls, you want to go for it, then absolutely worth it, right? You add all the cards to the list, right? You could go and add all the promo icons you're interested in. And again, we're looking at rare ones. We're not adding Schweinsteiger. We're not adding the cheaper ones, okay? Then all you need to do is just keep checking this list and check on the game if you want to too. Now, all I mean by that is every time you refresh this page, it will pull through Footbin's price for these cards. We can see that Xavi is 980,000 coins, Roberto Carlos is 1.1, and Ribery is 495. Now, icons specifically, less so promo icons, but icons specifically, if we go to our fluctuation icon list, which I did the exact same, put all these icons in manually, they fluctuate throughout the day. They don't necessarily go up and down in terms of one direction. They fluctuate up and down. And I put these icons in this list. I chose the icons that I like because I've seen them fluctuate before. Now, you can tell I've put a lot of cards in here, but you can build your list out one by one as you find cards that you think fluctuate. So, for example, Steffi Jones. I only put this card in the list because I used to trade with it quite a lot. And if you go to the hourly on her yesterday, you will see she went from 115 to 160, then back down to 120. Then today she went from 120 up to 144. I just see her fluctuate all the time. So hence, I added her to the list, right? And then what I'll do is, now that I know she goes from 120 to 144, I'll keep an eye on this price here. And if she comes down to 120, then I can go for buy a few of these cards. Or if you're on a low budget, you could just buy one of these cards. And I'll look to sell her when she gets back to 144. I won't even list her half the time. I won't even list her on the market unless I check and she's near 144 again. Now, on one specific icon, that can seem pretty minor. But as you see, boys, I've built up a list of icons that I like. Now, what I can do is, when it's content time, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, weekend league, or even in the middle of the week when you can still do this, I will often flick on this page on fluctuation icons and I will have a little gander through the price. I will see if Jones is at her low point, which I know is 120, and I know that all these icons have a low point. Van der Sar can get to low as 270. He's not there yet, so I'm not looking at buying him. And what you should see, boys, 95% of the time is these cards should not be at lows, right? It kind of sounds weird, but if every card was at a low all the time, then everyone would just trade them and it'd be too easy. The reason this is, the reason you need such a big list of icons is whenever you check this, you should look at all the prices and go, a lot of them don't look too good. And often what you're looking for is that one gem, that one icon in your list who is at their low point. It's often one or two cards maximum when you're checking, right? So you go through, have a look, which price do you like? And then before you buy, you combine this with one of the tips before. So let's say you were looking at Steffi Jones, okay? You go on Steffi Jones on FootGG or footbin sales history. You think she's at a low point, you're not too sure. And you can come down to the sales history down here and it's the exact same method as before. Now, you've got to be careful with cards like her because clearly she is getting coin transferred, in my opinion. If you look at this, right, and you guys have asked me this before, how do you spot an icon getting coin transferred? I think it's pretty simple, but let me show you how I figure it out, okay? Right. Can you see how she has a lot of 180,000 coin sales, but also a lot of 140,000 coin sales? Now, the big giveaway here that she's a coin sale icon is that look at the time difference between these sales. There is no way that within 1 minute she is 140 and 180,000 coins. It just doesn't make sense. If there was 5 hours between these, maybe, but there's not. They're all in the same minute. There is not a way a card can go from 150 to 180 in 3 minutes and then back down to 140 a minute later. It doesn't make sense. These are coin shops using these cards and they use them to make their coins. That's fine, but you don't want to get involved in that. You do not want to buy at 140 and try and sell at 180 because basically it ain't going to work, right? So look out for that. If you see a card constantly having this weird low and weird high, ignore the high points and just look at the low points. So for Steffi Jones, the low point looks to be around 139 and the high point looks to be around 154. That seems to be or even there's a low point at 135. You're looking to buy this card around 135 or 131 and sell it at 154 and ignore these random 180,000 coin sales that are not proper sales. And before we jump into my favorite method of the entire video, number 5, which is where I buy most of my icons like this Laurent Blanc, what budget do you do footbin list icon trading with? Well, the great thing about it is it's kind of any budget. You just need to have a little bit of budget management. For example, what I mean is you could have had Bobby Charlton on a list for 1.2 million coins, but you could also have had Roy Keane on the list for about 70,000 coins. I don't recommend putting the discard icons on the list. They don't really fluctuate too well, but if you wanted to, you could sit and track their price. So the best thing with footbin lists is it's basically any budget. If you're super low budget, go and put the cheap cards on. And if you're super high budget, go and put Xavi and Bobby Charlton. And my super tip, if you want one definitive rule, never buy an icon that is more than 30% of your total budget. When I bought this Bobby Charlton for 1.1 million coins, I was on 5 million coins liquid. So he was a fifth of my total coins, right? I will never buy a card that is more than 30% of my total coin total when I am liquid. That is just a great budget management tip. And the reason budget management is so important with icons is this last method, number 5, it revolves all around budget management. As long as you manage your budget well, you will absolutely smash this number 5 and my personal favorite method. Now, at the end of this, I will show you the 2 exact filters that I use personally. If you want to just copy them, you can go for it. But this is generic icon trading, and all you're going to do is put generic filters in. I know it sounds a little bit obvious, but listen what I mean, right? Generic icon trading seems the most simple, but it's the most effective when you learn the prices. All it is putting a certain range of prices in. So, for example, we could put 300 to 1 million. We could put 300 to 700. We could put 200 to 700. All you're doing is putting a range of icon in, and then you're going to go to the 59th minute. This works slightly differently on PC than console, because on PC there's less icons, so you can make that range bigger. On console there's a lot of icons, so you've got to keep that range somewhat tight, because if there's too many icons on your filter, you will take ages getting to the 59th minute. It will take you an eternity, and you don't want that, because by the time you get there, you've lost out on all the deals. But all you're going to do is scroll to exactly the 59th minute here. You want to see the most recently listed cards, and that is basically the method. Now let me show you how to buy and sell the cards, and let me show you the filters I use. But that is it. You are going to try and find cards that have been undercut and at lows on this filter. Like, it sounds so simple, and it is very, very nuanced, but when you learn it, it's amazing, right? All you're doing is playing around with your budget. Like we say, budget management. If you're on 5 million coins, you might do something like this, right? You might up it to 1.0, if I can do it. You might up it to 1.5, 1.4, and you do something like this, right? If you're on, 500,000 coins, you might do something a lot more like this at like 200 to 500,000 coins. Now, I don't think you should buy any 500,000 coin icons, but it's still good to learn the prices of them when you're searching this filter. Now, this one specifically, boys, is even better when you get to 300,000 coins to 500,000 coins plus, because all the discard icons, there's so much supply of them on the game that you're often sat scrolling forever if you put the budget, the filter too low. Like, you put it at 100,000 coins, you're often sat searching forever to find the cards. But it is the same as before in terms of buys and sales. The Socrates comes up at 229. I will jump to FUTGG and I will go to Socrates. And clearly 229 is not a buy because he's currently 225. But let's say we didn't even look at that. What is a buy for this Socrates? Well, we can see he seems to get high at 236. We like that. This looks like a very natural fluctuation. I'd ignore the 300 again. Seems a bit random. But he seems to get naturally high at sort of 236. 230 again there. 238 even. Maybe we can even get a 240 sale, right? So maybe 240s is high. Now, the profit after tax on 240, 10% is 24, so 5% is 12, which means you're getting 240 minus 12, 228,000 coins back for this card. We want a good 5%, so we want at least 10 to 14,000 coins, which means to get 10% or 5% profit after tax from 228,000 coins, we need to be buying for about 215,000 coins max. And as you can see, I might even have bought that one for 217,000 coins. I made 11,000 coins on this Socrates when he goes back to 240,000 coins. The one we saw on the game, as you can see, boys, is 229,000 coins. So not a buy. But what you can do when you're first doing this method is check Socrates' price, check Barezi's price, check Rooney's, check Nestor's. And then every time they come up on the filter that day when you're doing it, you know exactly what to buy Nestor for, exactly what to buy Rooney for, exactly what to buy Baresi and Socrates for. And you start to become your own little encyclopedia of prices. And all of a sudden, that is how you buy these Blancs at a great undercut. It's how you buy these Rooneys at 385 and sell for 420. It's how you buy the Sauer at 500 and sell for 549. It is how I start doing it on this filter and buy them before anyone else can even check the price, because I just start to learn these prices and make some crazy coins. Now, here are the exact two filters I use to do this. These are the best two, in my opinion. If this is out of your budget, don't worry, I've got something for you at the end. But these are the two I use, okay? Number one is my favorite, and it is simple as this. 300,000 coins to pretty much any price. Now, I often put 2 million because I don't like trading icons above that, but 300,000 coins to basically any price gets you a really nice filter of icons where you can get to the 59th minute, not too slow, but you kind of see all the icons that hold some value in the game. If an icon is above 300,000 coins, it often fluctuates very well because it's a good icon, normally, right? And you'll get cards on this filter like Zola, all the way up to Beckenbauer, and that is my personal. Now, the lower budget equivalent is this. It is minimum buy now 200. You still get rid of all them icons at like, crappy prices, but you then go up to 400,000 coins. You have to keep this one a lot tighter as there's a lot more cheap icons on the game, so it takes a lot longer to get to the 59th minute. But 200 to 400,000 coins shows some amazing fluctuation icons. Ashley Cole fluctuates amazing. Charbon Cum and Zola and Van der Sar also fluctuate amazing. That's the lower budget one, right? And on PC, you can expand these even more. So what I mean is, on PC with the lack of supply, boys, where icon trading is amazing on PC, you could go 200 to 600, or you might even be able to go like 150 up to 700, right? Because there's so few icons on the game, you can up that price range. Whereas on console, can you see how I'm going to take ages to get to the 59th minute here by scrolling? On PC with the lack of supply, you can really make that range as big as possible and take advantage of the lack of supply on the game. But I did say, what if you are lower budget than that? And what if you do want to do method 4 and method 5, but you're too low budget and you maybe you're on like 100,000 coins, 50,000 coins, 200,000 coins, right? Don't you worry. I made this video the other day, 0 to 1 million coins, guys, and it's the fastest way by a mile to get to 500,000 coins, or obviously a million coins, and start icon trading. I really do believe that. Go and give that a watch, check it out, and then you come back to this video and start icon trading. Boys, I hope today's video really did help you out. This has been a much requested one recently, but boys, like always, until next time, I'll see you all in a bizzle.